Welcome to Carrickfergus Vineyard, a place of hope where lives are changing. We're a church in the heart of Carrickfergus, passionate about seeing people's lives changed by the love of Jesus. The following message was given at one of our Sunday services.
Well, folks, let's dive in and make a start. It's great to be together. Wonder how your summer's going. Summer looks different for different people. Spare a thought for the poor old teachers. After their couple of week break, they've got to go back to school this week. So spare a thought for those poor old souls. And for all the students getting results, well done. Any results coming this week? Coming this week? He's quietly confident. And anyone else, that will be tremendous. If you're a guest here this morning, you're so welcome. That's already been said, but I want to say it as well. The summer here in church is just a bit more relaxed. Throughout July, throughout August, it kind of allows our kids team just a bit of a break. I will be brief this morning. Some of you are absolutely delighted with that. So that's that. And welcome really to Volume 2 of Heroes of the Faith. Volume 2 meaning because we did it this time last year. We took a number of different biblical characters throughout the scriptures and we decided we'd choose another 8 this year and this summertime. And it really helps build our biblical literacy. Much of what has been shared, many of us will probably know. Hopefully there'll be a bit more for some of us. And they really just focusing on real people that really lived and were really heroic and really did some incredible kingdom things. But also, because they were human beings, they also messed up and they made mistakes and they might have had a past and all that sort of stuff as well. And they're so relatable to us. We can always learn from these incredible characters, both from what they did, which was great, and some of their struggles and some of their stories. And we're able to relate to that. And I just want to pay tribute and say thank you so much to the other folks that have taught over the last number of weeks. It's not just to give us a break, although partly that is the reason, I'll be honest. But it is also an opportunity for other folks to teach, which is great. And we are so blessed in our church community that there are others who are gifted and knowledgeable in order to teach the scriptures. And actually, it's a really healthy thing that you're not just listening to one person doing all the teaching. And sometimes in some churches where that happens, you're just going to get like one type of meal each week. And it is important. I think it's healthy to kind of share. There'll be different ones of you will respond to different ones of us. And there'll be some of you who will really connect with the way that one person might kind of teach to another person. It's a bit like your teachers at school. Isn't that right? You know, there's certain teachers you're like, oh yeah, I like the way they do it. And others you're like, oh flip, I don't want to go in their class and all that. So it's just the way it is, right? So I think that's really good. And I really commend to you, if you've missed some of them, please listen to them. They're on our podcast. And thank you to all those that took part. So I am today going to focus on another titan from the New Testament. He's one of the 12, and he's a gospel writer. That narrows it down to 2. And it's not John. So we're going to be looking at Matthew. And following on from what Alan Grant did a couple of weeks ago, he had some famous Joshuas. And I thought we'd have some famous Matthews. So starting with the first one. He was actually, so I'm Googling like famous Matthews. He's the most famous Matthew. You would agree, Roshi? Pleasing on the eye? She's kind of sat there going like this. Sorry to embarrass you. Second one, absolute sporting legend. There's Matthew Pinsent, 4 gold medals. And then another sporting legend, a bit of play on the words there. We've got Stanley Matthews. And then this is possibly the hardest one. Sorry, there's not many that are really kind of your generation. What is it? Matthew Wright, TV presenter. And then lastly, We have the late Matthew Perry. But of course, we're talking about the Apostle Matthew, who clearly looks like this. And give the people what they want. This is clearly, if you haven't heard of it or heard me talk, it's from the hit TV program The Chosen. Has anyone been watching In the Wild with Bear Grylls and The Chosen? Isn't that brilliant? I've watched 3 already so far. And so Matthew's really my favourite character, besides Jesus, of course, in The Chosen. And I love the way that they have portrayed him and his character in it. It's absolutely fascinating, and the actor who plays him is absolutely fantastic. But sadly, much of which the program have portrayed him isn't really biblical. It's kind of poetic license and stuff. So we need to stay true. We're going to stay close to the scriptures and really share about what we know about him. And there really is just 1 or 2 stories which we're going to share specific about Matthew. He is, of course, a gospel writer, and together with both Mark and Luke, they document this account, and we're going to read just briefly from Matthew's version. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," he told him. And Matthew got up and followed him. Similar accounts in Mark and Luke, very brief exchange, not much detail. Jesus sees, Jesus invites, and Matthew chooses to follow. Now, we may assume or we may speculate that more was said at that time and just less has been written about it. But regardless, it poses the question, why Matthew? Why him? Jesus didn't go around literally pointing at every single person and inviting them into this special, unique relationship that he had with 12 people. Only 12 were called, 12 disciples who later became the apostles, only reserved for certain people. So why Matthew? What was it about him? What was it that caught Jesus' attention? Of all the people to invite, to be a follower, to be a special, one of his special 12, Matthew would have literally, in the eyes of the world, been bottom of the pile. In the eyes of the world. Why? Because we know his trade. We know what he did for a living. He was a tax collector. And tax collectors in the Bible and during those times were hated by the Jewish people. They were Jewish agents and they worked for the Roman Empire. And in some ways we could use the term turncoats. They had literally turned against their fellow men. And it made me think about during the Second World War, when obviously there were Jews who were recruited by the Nazis in order to do the Nazis' dirty work for them in exchange for an easier, slightly easier life. And any of you who are interested in places like Auschwitz, you'll know of the role, the capo, that was responsible for looking after, or not looking after, actually being really, really mean. But they were turned against their fellow men and hated and despised even more. And Matthew was one of these people. He not only turned against his fellow men, but he was allowed to, and it was commonplace to actually take more money from what was owed to Rome. And so they would have been very wealthy people and benefited richly from it. They were despised, and especially by religious leaders. But Jesus didn't. Instead, Jesus chose him. And so from the get-go, what we learn is this. It doesn't matter how far away we are. It doesn't matter what we think of ourselves or what the world says about us. We are never too far from grace. None of us are beyond his reach. Jesus steps down and he sees Matthew and he calls and he invites him into relationship with him. And like the image that we see there, Matthew himself was behind bars, and that was really for his protection. but in many ways as well, it was his own prison that he had found himself. But Jesus says, follow me. And Matthew chooses to respond by following him. Now, Jesus' invitation to us today is the same. Jesus' invitation for those that don't yet know him or are choosing not to follow him. The same invitation to follow him, to step out, to come out from behind the bars of whatever keeps us and step into a life of freedom. And we find that through Matthew's interaction with Jesus, Matthew's life is completely transformed and completely changed. And we learn early on, Brian Lights, please. We learn early on that Matthew's life is radically changed very quickly. And again, I'm just giving you what you want. It's a wee clip.
Always was.
It was teaching. Does anyone want any grapes? Barnaby, you eat a lot.
Very observant, Matthew.
Thank you. Simon?
You know, Matthew, when you're not behind iron bars, you're quite handsome.
I agree.
What is going on?
May I help you?
We were just on a walk and we heard voices, and I thought it sounded like... But surely not.
And yet it is you. Would you like to come in?
We would never be caught dead in a...
In a what? In a tax collector's house?
Not only that, but with a... Do you know what she... and he... They are...
You seem to be having troubles finding your words, man.
Why does your master eat with tax collectors and sinners?
It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick.
I must say, I am shocked. She is from the Red Quarter. Much of what is done there cannot even be spoken by my tongue or cross my lips. It is so unholy. The mere mention of it would defile me.
Sounds like a personal problem.
But him and the others he works with, they betray our people for money, and they're not even sorry.
If you're so offended, then leave. Let them speak, Andrew.
They've never offered guilt sacrifices in the temple.
What? The priest keeps records. We check them.
Tax collectors are not welcome at the temple.
Would like them better if they made the proper sacrifices.
This is not about me. This is about what God wants.
You are forgetting the scroll of Hosea. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, more than sacrifice.
There are righteous men on the lookout for you, and they are weighing every word you say.
Is that a threat?
Please let them know this, Yusuf. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners.
Is everything under control here?
Yes, we were just going on our way, Centurion.
As Primi Ordine to you.
Prime ordine.
Whoa. Much of that video clip there is contained in these words. And, why the red one's not presenting? Okay, I'm glad I looked. Okay, so there's some of the verses, and the other verses that are missing are in red, and they're not on the screen, and the red ones are obviously the things that Jesus says. I'm going to leave it there. I will refer to it as we go. So we assume that this meal, it happens quite quickly after Jesus' first interaction with Matthew. And he is invited to Matthew's home, and he puts on a great spread, and he invites his friends along to share in this special meal. The religious leaders, they come across it, and they've got this huge problem that Jesus is associating and having dinner with these sinners. And Jesus says, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but those who are ill. And he then goes on to quote the prophet Hosea. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. And firstly, just to affirm the point I've already made, that Jesus particularly calls those who are far from him. He didn't come for the righteous. He came for the sick. He came for those that were far from him. And Jesus' mission was the kingdom to be demonstrated through his words, the things that he said, through his actions, the way that he spent his time and lived his life, and through the wonders of the kingdom, through healings and miracles and all kinds of things. And he came for those who were far from him. And folks, we live in a desperate, broken, hurting world, and we say this time and time again, and we know people who are majorly far from him. And there are many of us in this room who still, even though we've chosen to follow Jesus, still find it difficult and have our own hurts, hang-ups and habits which keep us and prevent us from stepping into the fullness of what Jesus has for us. But yet, his invitation is still the same. Come follow me. Come and have relationship with me. The religious leaders had a problem with it. It's like you cannot associate with these people. You don't know what these people have done. That woman there is referring to Mary Magdalene from the Red Quarter. It's like the mention of the things would defile me, and yet Jesus is not perturbed. He is not offended. He's not put out, but rather graciously and lovingly corrects them. He extends the hand of grace, and he quotes Hosea, it is not sacrifice. We don't want sacrifices at the temple to get right with God, but I desire mercy. Mercy. Jesus is so merciful. And then secondly, what we learn from this is that Matthew is so transformed, he's so captivated by Jesus that he introduces Jesus to his friends. And he hosts this dinner, this party for him to come to. And I have noticed over the years that those who become Christians, those who are far from him, that Jesus just comes and does just a wonderful thing in the person's life, and they become an incredible evangelist, and they begin to start bringing their friends maybe to church or to whatever it is, and they begin to introduce their friends who don't know Jesus to him also. A thought. If Jesus walked the earth today, who would the equivalent of the tax collectors be? In the eyes of the world, those who are far from him, who would the people be? What were the groups of people? Who are the ones that Jesus is maybe inviting us to be his hands and feet, to go be him in those places, to witness, to demonstrate through our actions, to share our words of mercy and of grace and of love, and invite them towards Jesus. Back to Matthew. There isn't much else really specific about him written. Unlike Peter, Ellie had an easy job that morning. She had a load to talk about. But whilst much wasn't necessarily specifically written about Matthew, Matthew still wrote the longest of the 4 Gospels. And much of his gospel is unique to the others. It was written for a Jewish audience, which is interesting that the very people that despised him most, the way in which he crafted his gospel was specific to the Jewish people. Much which is contained in Matthew's gospel is unique to only his gospel, such as the Sermon on the Mount, Peter walking on water, Pilate's wife having dreams, the guards at the tomb, and the Great Commission can only be found in Matthew's gospel. His gospel is written in such a way that Jesus is like a new Moses. He has come to deliver and set the people free, and he is constantly urging his readers to follow him. Matthew's life is clearly transformed by Jesus, and his life is forever changed. Jesus takes Matthew's talents and uses them for good. Matthew clearly would have been great with detail. He had to be, or he would have been sacked. He had to keep meticulous records, albeit with numbers. But Jesus takes his meticulous, accurate recording of facts and writes them in a story which has changed many people's lives. And so Matthew goes on beyond Jesus' time, physically present on earth. And he takes it and he lives a life worthy of that which he was called for, and he leaves a legacy. He writes one of the most important documents of literature which has transformed people's lives. Much has been documented about his life after. St. Irenaeus and St. Clement of Alexandria write that Matthew ministered in Judea for some time until the persecution in 42 AD, when the disciples spread and took the gospel to far-flung places. It is known that he planted church communities, Christian communities in Ethiopia and Persia. And tradition holds that he died a martyr, although there's no facts that actually happened. But regardless, Matthew went on to live an incredible life and left a legacy. What a hero. What a changed life. 2 weeks ago, Chantel and I, together with some of you will know Andy Masters, who leads Lagan Valley Vineyard, and Ben Ewan, who's a local lad, grew up in Whitehead. He leads Foyle Vineyard. And together, the four of us went on a bit of a road trip to the west of Ireland. And we went to places, some of you might know these places, some of you never heard of them. We went to Ballina, Clare Morris, and Westport on the west coast of Ireland. It is a wild and rugged place out there. And spiritually speaking, it does not have the number of churches that we have here in the north. And we went there because we feel that God is inviting us to plant more vineyard churches across the island of Ireland. We have a burning heart to release and to plant other churches, other vineyard churches, into different cultural places and contexts all over Ireland. We're not about to pack up and leave, by the way, so don't get, or don't throw a party just yet. But nonetheless, we went to visit other people that are already leading in those places and to see and to learn of what's going on. And our prayer is that someday, somehow, someone will establish church communities in those places. And we want to do whatever we can do to support, to equip, and to bless those that are going to be heroic and lead those churches. Someday I'm going to die. It's true. And I want to have left a mark. I want to have used my time and my treasure and my talent for the sake of his kingdom. And part of that for me and what God's asking of me is to help establish other church communities. It's part, not all, part of what he's made me for. And nothing brings me more joy when I see that happen. See the kingdom released in that way. My question to you is, what are you going to leave behind? What is God asked of you? And some of you might listen and go, gosh, that's a really big, wow, that's cracker. Grandiose, whatever. But what's your perhaps 2 pennies worth? What's your dream? What is it that he's laid on your heart that is equally of value, of lasting impact when you're gone? to your children, to your children's children. And if you don't have children, to other children. What are we passing on? Folks, you've been part of our church for a while. You'll know that legacy is one of we added to it, our core values. And it's about passing to the next generation. We're absolutely stoked that our Owen is going to get to lead and to hopefully grow and to minister to our own young people and to young people beyond the four walls of this church. We're passionate about engaging with other younger families. And we invite you, the church, to be a part of that. That was longer than was in the notes. That was literally like one sentence in the notes. And I've spoken for too long, and I said I'd be short. The encore. Matthew is the patron saint of guess who? Bankers, accountants, bookkeepers, stockbrokers, security guards, and tax collectors. And his feast day is my birthday, the 21st of September. You might want to just get your calendars out right now.
Thanks for listening to the Carrot Fergus Vineyard podcast. If you'd like to find out more about our church, please visit our website, carrotfergusvineyard.org.